Hello, I am Miss Claycomb. Today, for my kindergarten class, we are going to be going over a lesson about recycling. This lesson would be incorporated into a recycling unit, so it would just be part of that unit. So students would kind of have an idea of what recycling is. Um, the materials that we will use today in our class, we are going to read the book, The Adventures of Gary and Harry the Turtles. This book is about garbage in our oceans and how it affects our wildlife in the oceans. So let's just start off by reading this book. Get your brains going about recycling and what you think it means. Right. Get it all situated here. Deep in the sparkling sea, Gary the green sea turtle and his best friend Harry, the hawksbill turtle, played in their ocean. Each day they would swim to the surface and happily dive beneath the waves. Can't see it very well. Gary and Harry loved their carefree life in the sea and liked to visit their many ocean friends, like Olivia the octopus and Laurie the lobster, and even Herman the grumpy old hermit crab, who was really nothing but a big softy under that crusty old shell. For Gary and Harry, each day was a great underwater adventure. Some days they would explore deep into dark underwater caverns. Other days they would search for long lost treasures buried deep in the holes of old sunken ships. When they wanted a good laugh, they would visit the crazy clownfishes who performed in Harold Harlequin Shrimp's spectacular sea circus. That was a hard one. Wow. One day, after their morning adventure, Gary and Harry were especially hungry. As always, it was difficult deciding what to have for lunch, since they had very different tastes in foods. How about a salty seaweed salad made of fresh algae, Gary suggested. Algae? Yuck, Harry replied, making a face. I'd rather have a nice, tasty jellyfish. Now, since we are focusing on friendship also in this recycling lesson, how could Harry reply to Gary in a nicer way than saying algae, yuck? Just think about that and think, what would you say if you were a good friend? His wish had been answered, for suddenly a school of jellyfish floated by. Wow, look at all those jellyfish. Harry quickly swam to the largest one and swallowed it. One big gulp. Gary expected to hear a satisfied ah, but instead Harry responded with a terrified ack. Harry was gasping and choking. That was no jellyfish he had swallowed. It was a plastic bag. Harry knew many sea turtles had died from choking on plastic bags, but he never once thought it would happen to him. So what is happening with the garbage in our ocean? You can think about that while we are reading through our book. Harry desperately tried everything to remove the plastic bag, but it just wouldn't come out. His life flashed before him. Luckily, Gary had just completed his turtle safety class, and by using the Heimlich maneuver, the plastic bag flew right out from Harry's throat. Whew, that was a close one, Harry said while catching his breath. How did a plastic bag get in the ocean anyway? How else? Gary answered. The humans. Well, they need to be more careful to keep their trash out of their homes, Harry said angrily. Gary couldn't agree with him more. Suddenly, Harry's stomach rumbled. All the excitement worked up his appetite. Well, I'm starving, he told Gary. Let's get lunch. Just then, a beautiful jellyfish floated by. Look, Harry, just what you asked for, lunch. After what Harry had been through, suddenly jellyfish didn't seem very appealing. Maybe I'll try one of those salty seaweed salads. Gary's face quickly lit up. Well, I know the perfect place to go, he said excitedly. And with a flick of their flippers, they quickly drove through the crystal blue water, eager to enjoy a nice, delicious, relaxing lunch. The end. So, as we read through our book, some of the social studies concepts I would focus on with my class are recycling, differences we see in people and every day, not just turtles. So we're comparing those turtles to humans, our community respect, and friendship. The literacy concepts we're going to focus on are vocabulary development and reading comprehensions, because students use these to pick apart our reading of our book as they discover new words they haven't heard before as kindergartners. Let's see. For our exploration, I will be asking the students a list of questions, and part of the questions, some of them I asked throughout the book as I read this book to them. Those were questions like, how could Gary respond in a nicer way when he didn't want the salad that Harry had? And some others would be like, since Gary and Harry are two different turtles, what makes them good friends still? So students can be thinking about these questions throughout the book as we're reading this book. So I just asked a couple, but the questions would consist of that kind of topic. Then I would ask some questions after the book as a discussion. So some of those questions would consist of, what kind of adventures do you have with your friends? So this is just making students think about friendship and how they should treat one another. How do you know your friend's in trouble? What happens to ocean animals when we do not put our garbage where it's supposed to be? So after reading this book, they can see what happens to animals when our garbage does not go where it's supposed to go. If a friend upsets you, how should you tell your friend how you feel about that? So they should get a kind of idea how Gary responded, because it wasn't the nicest way to respond about not eating the salad. So they can respond in nicer ways when they don't agree with their friend or if their friend upsets them. So for after our questions from reading our book, we're going to be paired up with partners, and one partner will be bad friend, or one group of partners will be bad friends, and one will demonstrate what good friendship looks like. They will demonstrate that in front of the class, and the class will decide if they are demonstrating bad friendship or if they are demonstrating good friendship. So, for our action, we have a bunch of items. We will be sorting the items into different categories. Students will be given items that need to be recycled, items that belong in the ocean, and items that could belong in both the ocean and belong in the garbage and be recycled. They will put each item into the buckets labeled with those recycled, ocean, and both. And it allows students to be hands-on and explore what they have learned in our lesson today. So some of those items, I have a few to show. So here's a little spring, so students can decide where that would go. Now this is kind of far-fetched, but this is some sand in a jar. You know, it's colorful, but it's still sand. We're gonna pretend it's just normal colored sand. So the sand, where would that go? And we have a hair tie. Where do you think that should go? And we have water. Now this is plastic, so this could be maybe a both, because water can belong in the ocean, but plastic does not. So that could be our both category. So that's just a little example of that. Let's see what else we have. We have fish. This is a baby toy, but where do fish belong? It's an alive fish, by the way. We have a can of sardines. Now, could this be both? Because where does metal belong? And where do sardines belong? They could be dead sardines or alive sardines. Either one. Think of where those belong. Let's see, we have a plastic knife. And we just have a big plastic bag. So that is our lesson with recycling and friendship. The essential question in our lesson is how can we recycle and keep our ocean clean, but the keeping the social in social studies aspect of this lesson is friendship and how to be a good friend. And I think this lesson would be very important to kindergartners because they're just starting to see how one another acts and if they have differences or similar likes and not things that they don't like. So yeah, hope you enjoyed my lesson. Thank you.